Hi, I'm Christopher Warnock of Renaissance Astrology, and today I'm going to do a deep dive into fixed star talismans and Deneb Algedi. Now, Deneb Algedi is a talisman that we had in stock. They were very popular. They sold out. We haven't had them for a long time, and finally they're back in stock again. Now, we don't have as many as I'd like to have, but I'm just so psyched that we've got these talismans again. These are really unusual. They're a multifunction talisman. You don't often find that. Usually they're kind of restricted in terms of what they do. They're going to do one thing really well. This actually has three things that it does. First of all, it's a wealth talisman, and it's described as giving wealth in every possible way, which sounds great to me. Also provides success in lawsuits in court and conflict in general. And then again, an amazing combination with a wealth talisman. It's a home protection and safety talisman. So really cool to have so many different things and do so many things so well. So as a fixed star talisman, I think that fixed stars really are the cutting edge. It's, people are getting more and more excited about them and more into them. Originally, I could tell people were really comfortable just with planetary talismans, and anything other than planetary talismans, people are like, oh, I don't know about that. Fixed stars have jumped into people's consciousness. This is the cutting edge. This is what people are really getting excited about really now. So it's cool to have an unusual fixed star like Deneb Algedi. So sometimes when people ask me still, what are fixed stars? Okay, so fixed stars are a very important part of traditional astrology. There's over 1,000 visible fixed stars. They're organized into 48 constellations, 12 zodiacal constellations and 36 extra zodiacal constellations. So the fixed stars are in the highest sphere in the traditional geocentric astronomy. They're higher than the planets. Generally, when you look at the sources, they're considered to be more perfect than the planets. They're higher. They're closer to the ideal, closer to the Platonic ideas. And again, you can see that in Ficino. Some sources, Quindecim Stellis, for example, does mention that the fixed stars are ruled by the planets. That doesn't make a lot of sense. Again, Ficino, who I think is a really excellent source, has a much more philosophical argument, and he says, the fixed stars are higher, and they're part of the chain, the great chain of being, and the planets are actually under their dominion. So again, I think that's more logical, but again, there's different approaches to that. Again, as I mentioned, Quindecim Stellis, this is our comprehensive translation of Quindecim Stellis, Hermes on the 15 fixed stars. This contains all four major variant manuscripts, really a key source. If you're interested in fixed star astrological magic and their use in predictive astrology, you definitely want to get a copy of Quindecim Stellis, and there's going to be a link there on the YouTube page, and you can check that out. So we've really got now a comprehensive source for looking at fixed stars. We've got an exploding amount of interest in it, and I think one of the things that I discussed this in Quindecim Stellis, but it really does fascinate me is how does this work? What's the underlying mechanism for astrological and particularly in this case fixed star talismans? So I think that the modern approach is going to be it's what I call atheistic materialism, is very focused on matter. In fact, they don't believe anything exists except matter and energy. So a lot of people, even though they're doing astrology and magic, are still sort of captured by that view, even if they don't really realize it. That's kind of their unconscious view of reality. That's a worldview. So there's kind of the sense of it, the matter does it, the material, it's something about, the atomic structure or something like that must do it. The other view would be that there's beams or rays, and there are still people, that think that practice astrology or magic and think that it's magnetism or some other sort of, quantum entanglement or something like that. Zero scientific evidence for that. Other people, more sophisticated, are thinking in terms of spiritual rays or energy. Again, this follows Al-Kindi. This is definitely models that were in the traditional view, like I said, Al-Kindi. But the most important model in terms of how the fixed stars and in magic in general works in astrology is occult virtue. So you have what occult virtue basically just means hidden powers. And the view there was that everything in its essence was unified in the one. And then but that's all unified. Everything was essentially undifferentiated. It exists in a differentiated form as ideas in mind, basically the Platonic ideas. And there's very often seen as forms. And then these forms manifest as root reasons in the anima mundi, the soul of the world, and then occult virtues in the celestials, in planets and stars, and then appear in the sublunary sphere in the material world. So there's definitely material objects contain occult virtue. No question about that. Now, which objects have what occult virtue is really going to be something we can only find out through long experience or through dreams or visions, or for most of us, it's going to be through looking at these traditional sources. That's how we figure out how, what does what. So definitely material objects have that, and that's what people tend to focus on. The gemstone stuff, people are like, okay, yeah, I want a magic gemstone, and the gem is the source of the magic. But as we can see, it's not that the gem itself is magical, but it's containing that occult virtue. And what's interesting, and again, Quindecim Stellis says this, is that if you have the occult virtue and you combine it with the astrological timing when you make the talisman, you're going to increase that 100-fold. So in and of themselves, material objects are not super powerful, not super magical, though they contain these powers. So one of the things that I got excited about, and one of the things I really focus on, is essentially image magic. And the reason I do that is because the image magic allows for a supercharging of occult virtue. Because as we think about the theory here, again, the magic is not in the thing itself, but insofar as that thing expresses these higher views, these higher forms, and images and Platonic ideas. And the ideal way to do that is to have an image. Because the image itself, you think a picture's worth 1,000 words. The image itself is the encapsulated expression of occult virtue. It's not symbolic, it's an actual manifestation of this power, And so if you have the same form, you're connected. In fact, there's a unity there and a power that's there. And then if you create that image at an astrologically appropriate time, then you're really going to have a superpower of the inherent virtue. Okay, so again, not the only way to do it, but again, this is an incredibly powerful expression of occult virtue if you're doing image magic. And so, for example, with the Deneb Algedi, you can see the image is the goatfish. This is the consecration image that comes with the talisman. And then you can also see on the talisman itself the goatfish image. So super powered, super connected to Deneb Algedi and expressing these occult virtues. And again, like I said, wealth in every possible way, the success in lawsuits in court, and then also the home protection and safety in general. So let's talk a little bit about Deneb Algedi. Deneb Algedi is Delta Capricornus, so in other words, a bright star in the constellation Capricorn. Deneb Algedi is actually in the tail of Capricorn, and Deneb Algedi actually means, it's Arabic, like most of our star names, means the tail of the goat. So again, that's what we use for our Deneb Algedi images in order to contain the powers of that fixed star. Quindecim Stellis, and I'm going to show you the copy of that. Here it is again. I've got a link to that on the YouTube page. The table of the 15 fixed stars variant says of Deneb Algedi, it gives favor, and this is in court and lawsuits, and improveth the home in which it's kept, make it safe from all harm, and increaseth wealth in every way. The Liber Enoch variant says, know that the house where this is kept will be greatly improved. They will be sound of body who dwell therein, and their wealth will be increased without any doubt. So again, very powerful talisman for these purposes. Now, another thing that I think is really exciting about Deneb Algedi, and I'm very happy to have these in stock again for this reason, is that being in Capricorn, it has this similarity to Saturn. Okay? And again, it makes sense because the occult virtue that's being expressed is coming from this common source. So it's not a replacement, it's not Saturn energy in and of itself, but it has enough of a similarity to it that if Saturn is afflicted in your chart, this is an excellent talisman to work with if you're wanting to get a similar sort of Saturn energy. If you're wanting to relate to that Saturn wisdom, the Saturn powers for esoteric arts, occult philosophy and things like that, this would be a very useful talisman to work with. So it's similar to the effect of if you have an afflicted Sun, you can use Regulus, which is the heart of Leo, or if you have an afflicted Mars, you can use Antares, which is the heart of Scorpio. So again, this whole view of occult virtue gives us a way of understanding how we can have similarities and how these constellations can be similar to the planet. So a very useful way of using those talismans. Again, I'm going to provide links for those in the YouTube page, and you can check those out. So again, very excited to have these in stock again. Remember, Renaissance Astrology was the original creator of astrological talismans. We have 146 pages of testimonials from satisfied clients. I don't think anyone comes close to that in terms of our experience, knowledge, and the meticulousness that we take to this. A lot of stuff, people out there doing stuff with talismans, but I think Renaissance Astrology remains the original and an excellent source of astrological talismans. So check out our Deneb Algedi talismans. Check out fixed star talismans in general in Renaissance Astrology, and then all of our currently available talismans. So I'm, again, very excited to present these. Cool to be talking about fixed stars, and it's great to have so much interest and excitement over fixed stars going on right now.